Pretend to be
documents
my
we
wife
discussed.
for
Everything is in order.
$1,000,
I told you
said the
before,
billionaire
I'm
that
not interested
nobody
in
could
your proposal.
stand
Take it back.
because of his arrogance. Her unexpected answer left him completely speechless. The rain hammered against the tall windows of Callahan Tower. Inside, Ethan Walker stared at the contract that would seal the biggest deal of his career. 32 years old, CEO of Callahan Tech, worth $3 billion, and completely alone. His reflection in the glass showed a man who had everything except what mattered most. "Mr. Walker, your car is waiting," his assistant Jennifer said softly from the doorway. Ethan grabbed his Armani jacket without a word. The charity gala at the plaza would be crawling with investors, but more importantly, his mother would be there, with another perfect match she'd chosen for him. After his engagement to Victoria ended in betrayal 6 months ago, Elizabeth Walker had made it her personal mission to see him married. The problem was simple: he needed a fake wife. Later that evening, Ethan walked into Bruno's Bistro, an upscale Italian restaurant a few blocks from his office. He only meant to grab a coffee before the gala until he noticed her. Behind the counter stood a young woman, hair pulled back in a neat bun, a red apron tied over her black uniform. The way she moved, efficient yet graceful, caught his attention. "Just coffee." "Black," he said curtly, not bothering with pleasantries. The woman looked up, and Ethan found himself staring into the most striking blue eyes he had ever seen. For a brief second, something flickered across her face. Recognition, perhaps, then vanished under professional composure. "Of course, sir," she said softly. "Would you like anything else?" Her tone was calm, but her presence had weight, gentle yet strong. Ethan noticed her hands as she poured his coffee, delicate but steady. No ring. He made a decision that would change everything. "Actually, yes, I have a proposition for you." She set the cup down carefully, raising one brow. "I'm listening. I need someone to accompany me to an event tonight," he said evenly. "Play the role of my wife for a few hours. I'll pay you $1,000. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Even nearby customers glanced over. Her expression didn't change, but Ethan saw her fingers tighten around the coffee pot. "You want me to pretend to be your wife for money?" Her tone was calm, but there was steel beneath it. "It's a business arrangement," he replied. "A few hours, some small talk. You walk away with easy money. Surely you could use it." The instant the words left his mouth, he knew he'd made a mistake. Her blue eyes turned to ice. She set the pot down slowly, precisely. "Surely I could use it," she repeated quietly. "Let me get this straight. You walk in here, don't even ask my name, and assume that because I'm serving coffee, I'm desperate enough to be bought for the evening?" Ethan opened his mouth, but she wasn't finished. "Here's a proposition for you, Mr. Walker," she said coldly. "Take your $1,000, your assumptions about people you know nothing about, and your coffee and leave. I'm not for sale." The words hit him harder than expected. Women didn't say no to Ethan Walker, ever. Before he could respond, an older woman appeared from the kitchen. "Lily, is everything all right?" Lily? So that was her name. Ethan watched as her face softened when she turned to the older woman. "Everything's fine, Mrs. Romano. This gentleman was just leaving." Mrs. Romano glanced between them, clearly sensing tension. Ethan pulled out his wallet, placed a $100 bill on the counter for a $5 coffee. "Keep the change," he said quietly, pride burning. As he turned to leave, Lily's voice followed him. "We don't need your charity either, Mr. Walker." He didn't turn around, but before stepping out, he paused. "I apologize," he said finally. "That was presumptuous of me, but the offer still stands. 19. If you change your mind, I'll be here tomorrow. Same time." "Don't bother," she called back, but he was already gone. Outside, the rain hit his Mercedes windshield in rhythmic taps. Yet the only thing echoing in his head was her voice, and those defiant blue eyes. In his world of privilege, power, and empty admiration. No one had ever looked at him with such mixture of dignity and disdain. Most people saw his wealth first. Lily Carter had seen something else entirely, and she hadn't liked it. His phone buzzed. A message from his mother. "Don't be late tonight. There's someone I want you to meet." Ethan groaned, sinking into the leather seat. Without a buffer, tonight would be unbearable. But more than that, he found himself curious about the woman who'd just told him no. Back at the bistro, Lily's hands trembled slightly as she wiped the counter. Mrs. Romano approached, eyes full of concern. "Cara mia, what was that about?" Lily forced a small smile. "Just another rich man who thinks everything has a price." But that wasn't the whole truth. She had recognized him, Ethan Walker, CEO of Callahan Tech. 3 years ago, before her world fell apart, she had researched his company for a merger case. She knew exactly who he was. What he didn't know was who she used to be. Lily Carter, top of her class at Columbia Law School, a rising attorney at Morrison & Associates. A bright career, a loving fiancé, a future, all stolen. Her fiancé, David Chen, had betrayed her, stolen her research, sabotaged her cases, and framed her for ethics violations. By the time she cleared her name, her reputation was gone, her savings drained by legal fees. And David had married the senior partner's daughter. She'd left that world behind, took jobs that asked no questions, started over quietly piece by piece. For 2 years, Bruno's Bistro had been her refuge. She'd learned that worth wasn't measured in money or titles. And now, Ethan Walker, the symbol of everything she'd escaped, had strolled in, offering to buy her dignity for an evening. "You okay, Lily?" asked Tommy, the young line cook who treated her like a sister. "I'm fine, Tommy," she said softly. "Just another day in paradise." But she wasn't fine. The look on Ethan's face when she refused, shock, then something almost human lingered in her mind long after he left. She'd meant what she said. She wasn't for sale. Yet, as she walked home through the rain, she couldn't shake the strange feeling that her life was about to change again. The next morning, Lily arrived at Bruno's before dawn. She tied her apron, trying to push him out of her mind, and failed. "You're early, even for you," Mrs. Romano said, stirring marinara sauce. Lily smiled weakly. "Couldn't sleep. That handsome man from yesterday kept haunting my thoughts." Mrs. Romano chuckled. "Handsome and arrogant. See?" Lily's cheeks warmed. "Completely arrogant." The bell chimed. She didn't need to look up to know who it was. He was back. Ethan Walker stood in the doorway, and this time he wasn't alone. A poised woman in her 60s stood beside him. Pearls, designer handbag, perfect posture. His mother. "Table for 2, Ethan said calmly, eyes fixed on Lily. She grabbed 2 menus. "Right this way." She led them to a booth in the corner, hyper-aware of his gaze following her every step. As she placed the menus, the woman smiled knowingly. "Ethan tells me the coffee here is exceptional," she said. "Though I suspect that's not the only reason we're here. Our coffee is freshly ground daily," Lily replied evenly. "I'll give you a moment to decide." "Actually," Ethan interrupted. "Lily, could we talk? Privately. I'm working, Mr. Walker. Please, 5 minutes." The tone was different this time, gentler, almost sincere. Mrs. Romano nodded from behind the counter. Lily exhaled and followed him to a quiet corner near the kitchen. Up close, he looked different, tired, human, dark shadows under his eyes. The perfect suit couldn't hide the strain in his shoulders. "I came to apologize properly," he said quietly. "Yesterday I was rude, presumptuous, out of line. You were right to refuse." She folded her arms, waiting. "But I'm hoping you might reconsider. Not for money, but because I'm desperate." He ran a hand through his hair, sighing. "My mother is relentless about setting me up. Tonight's gala is crucial for my company, and I need to focus on business, not surviving her matchmaking." Why not just tell her the truth? Lily asked. Because she won't take no for a 9. Answer. She thinks I'm still heartbroken over Victoria. Truth is, I'm relieved that ended. He hesitated. She was sleeping with my CFO, stealing company secrets. I caught them 3 days before the wedding. The pain in his voice was raw, unguarded. Lily's anger softened. I'm sorry that happened to you. So you'll help me? I didn't say that. He smiled faintly. Yesterday, you showed more class and dignity than most people I know. You're educated, aren't you? Lily tensed. What makes you say that? The way you speak, your posture, your words. You're not just a waitress, Lily. She met his gaze steadily. Everyone has a story, Mr. Walker. Not all of them are relevant. Fair enough, he said. 1 evening, 3 hours, $5,000, and maybe a little peace for both of us. Her instincts screamed no, but against all logic, she whispered, I'll do it. With conditions. Name them. Never ask about my past. After tonight, we're done. Half the money up front. He smiled faintly and extended his hand. Deal. Their fingers touched, an electric current. Both froze, startled by the spark. I'll pick you up at 6. I'll meet you here, she said firmly. No address. Understood. And Lily. Thank you. She nodded, unsure why her chest felt tight. That evening, after her shift ended, Lily stood in front of her small closet, heart racing. Her gowns were long gone, sold to survive. Only one dress remained, a plain navy sheath from a thrift store. A knock startled her. Delivery for Lily Carter. Boxes. A card. Ethan's handwriting. I assumed you might need appropriate attire. Consider it part of the arrangement. Return anything you don't like. E. W. Inside, 3 stunning gowns, shoes and jewelry, designers she once dreamed of working with as clients. She tried on an emerald green dress that fit perfectly. For a moment, she saw a glimpse of the woman she once was. Tears burned her eyes. Her phone buzzed. A text. Just want you to feel comfortable tonight. No pressure. See you at 6. Lily smiled faintly at her reflection. Maybe she was doing this for the money, or maybe just maybe part of her missed feeling like she belonged somewhere. She typed back softly, See you at 6. And Ethan. Thank you. As she set the phone down, she had no idea tonight would change everything. The evening arrived faster than either of them expected. At exactly 6 o'clock, a black Mercedes stopped in front of Bruno's bistro. Lily stepped out from the restaurant door, and for a moment, Ethan forgot how to breathe. The emerald dress shimmered softly under the streetlights, her hair loose over her shoulders, a small silver pendant resting against her collarbone. She looked nothing like the waitress who had thrown him out the day before, and yet she was unmistakably the same woman. Strong, grounded, real. Ethan opened the door for her, and for the first time that night, she hesitated. Are you sure about this? She asked quietly. He smiled. No, but I'm sure I'd regret it if I didn't try. She laughed softly. That's honest. Occasionally, he said, don't get used to it. They drove in silence for a few minutes. The city lights reflected in the windshield, casting patterns across her face. Lily stared out the window, watching Manhattan blur by like an old memory she'd tried to forget. Have you ever been to the plaza? Ethan asked. Once, she said, a long time ago. Her tone carried a shadow he didn't dare touch. When they arrived, cameras flashed. Reporters lined the red carpet, shouting questions at arriving guests. Ethan stepped out first, adjusting his tie, then offered his hand to Lily. She took it, and the world seemed to slow for a moment. The crowd gasped as the billionaire known for his coldness appeared with a mysterious woman by his side. Lily smiled with effortless grace, the kind that came from confidence, not pretense. They entered the ballroom, crystal chandeliers glittering above, a string quartet playing softly, the scent of champagne and roses thick in the air. Elizabeth Walker spotted them instantly. "Ethan, there you are, oh my." Her eyes widened as she saw Lily. "Mother," Ethan said smoothly. "May I introduce my wife, Lily Walker?" For a heartbeat, silence. Then Elizabeth's smile returned, a blend of shock and delight. "Well, this is quite the surprise." Lily extended her hand gracefully. "It's lovely to finally meet you, Mrs. Walker." Elizabeth's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Lovely indeed. And when exactly did this happen, darling?" Ethan didn't miss a beat. 3 months ago. Small ceremony. Very private." Elizabeth clasped her pearls dramatically. "Private, yes, but surely you could have told your mother." "We wanted time to ourselves first," Ethan said gently. "You understand." Elizabeth gave a playful sigh. "You two will have to tell me everything later. Right now everyone wants a word with you, Ethan." "Of course," he said, but his hand never left Lily's. As they made their way through the ballroom, Lily moved with quiet confidence, charming investors, greeting strangers as though she'd done this her whole life. It wasn't an act, it was muscle memory. Years of law firm galas and boardroom events returned to her like a language she hadn't spoken in years. Ethan watched in awe as she navigated the crowd with effortless poise. She wasn't just convincing, she was captivating. He leaned close. "You're a natural," he murmured. She smiled without turning her head. "Don't get used to it. This is still a one-night job." "Maybe," he said softly, "but it suits you." She didn't answer. Across the room, a woman in a silver gown froze mid-step. Victoria Rothschild, the ex-fiancée, the one who had betrayed him. Her expression hardened as she saw Ethan and then Lily. "Unbelievable," she muttered under her breath. Within seconds, she approached, heels clicking sharply. "Ethan," she purred. "I didn't realize you'd moved on so quickly." Ethan's posture straightened, every muscle tightening. "Victoria, won't you introduce me to your wife?" she asked pointedly. Lily offered a polite smile. "Lily Walker, pleasure to meet you." Victoria's eyes swept over her gown, lingering a little too long. "Walker, is it? How? Sudden." Ethan's voice was calm but edged with warning. "Some things in life don't need to take years, Victoria. Sometimes you just know." Her painted lips curved in a false smile. "Well, congratulations, both of you." She walked away, but her gaze lingered, calculating, already plotting. Lily exhaled quietly. "Your ex, I presume?" "Unfortunately, yes. She doesn't seem thrilled. She doesn't handle rejection well. Neither do you," Lily teased lightly. Ethan looked at her in surprise, then laughed, genuinely. "Touché, Miss Carter." "Mrs. Walker," she corrected with a smirk. The laugh between them dissolved the tension for a moment. When the music shifted to a waltz, Ethan offered his hand again. "Dance with me? I haven't danced in a long time. Then we'll both be terrible together." She hesitated, then nodded. Under the warm light of the chandeliers, their steps found rhythm, hesitant at first, then natural. Her hand in his, her eyes meeting his. For the first time, the fake marriage didn't feel fake. When the music ended, applause filled the hall, but neither of them moved right away. He leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. "You make this too easy to believe." Her reply was soft. "Maybe you just wanted to believe." They stood like that, too close, too long, until polite clapping broke the spell. Later that night, they slipped out to the terrace to breathe. City lights shimmered below them, the noise of laughter fading behind glass doors. Lily rested her hands on the railing, the cool air brushing her skin. "This world suits you," Ethan said quietly. "It used to," she admitted, "until it didn't." He turned toward her. "What happened? Doesn't matter." But he waited, silent, patient, and somehow that made her want to answer. "I trusted the wrong person," she said finally. Lost everything because of it. Ethan's gaze softened. I know that feeling. She looked at him. Do you? More than you think. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, two people who had built walls so high they'd forgotten what it felt like to let someone in. Ethan stepped closer, his voice low. Maybe we both deserve a second chance. Lily's breath caught. Ethan. He stopped inches from her, eyes searching hers. Tell me to stop, he whispered. She didn't. The kiss that followed wasn't part of the act. It was real, unexpected, the kind of connection that silences everything else. When they finally pulled apart, Lily was trembling. She looked at him, wide-eyed. This wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. I know, he said, his voice rough. But it did. Inside, someone called his name. The moment shattered. Lily stepped back. You should go. They're waiting. Lily. Good night, Mr. Walker. Her tone was calm, but her eyes told another story. And for the first time in years, Ethan Walker felt something he couldn't control. Not power, not pride, but longing. Inside the ballroom, the energy shifted. The murmur of guests rose like distant thunder. When Ethan re-entered, heads turned again, and whispers followed. He had vanished to the terrace with his new wife. And now, he returned, looking different, calmer, softer, almost human. Across the room, Victoria Rothschild watched from a balcony table. Her glass of champagne trembled in her hand. She could sense something had changed and she didn't like it. She leaned toward her father, Charles Rothschild, a powerful board member of Callahan Tech. Daddy, she said sweetly, I think we may have a problem. Charles adjusted his cufflinks, unimpressed. You're the one who threw him away, Victoria. I didn't think he'd replace me with that. Her eyes narrowed toward Lily, who was laughing softly beside Elizabeth Walker. Find out who she is, Victoria whispered. I want everything: background, employment, the works. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lily stood near the refreshment table, pretending to listen to a conversation about corporate philanthropy. He leaned closer, his voice low. Are you okay? I'm fine, she said, smiling through her nerves. You didn't have to defend me back there. I wanted to. Lily felt her heartbeat quicken. That simple sentence, I wanted to, was more dangerous than any flirtation. Then came the announcement. A spotlight fell on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, called the host, a round of applause for our keynote benefactor, Mr. Ethan Walker. The crowd erupted. Ethan straightened his tie and whispered, Wish me luck. You don't need luck, Lily replied. You just need honesty. He smiled, then stepped onto the stage. The speech was confident, charismatic, sincere. For once, he didn't sound like a CEO talking to shareholders. He spoke about responsibility, about giving back, about how power without purpose meant nothing. Lily watched from below, and for the first time saw the man beneath the armor. The room seemed to fade until only his voice remained. When he finished, applause thundered. Cameras flashed. He stepped down, but before he could reach Lily, Victoria intercepted him. Wonderful speech, she said smoothly. I almost believed the sincerity. Why are you here, Victoria? Oh, just curious. Your new wife is quite enchanting. Her tone was sharp sugar. Ethan met her gaze coldly. Don't start. I'm not starting, darling. I'm simply observing. It's fascinating how quickly you've moved on and how poorly you hide it. She leaned closer. Be careful, Ethan. Not everyone in this room is as gullible as you. By the time he reached Lily, his jaw was tight again. She noticed instantly. What happened? Nothing that matters. But she saw the muscle twitch in his cheek. He was furious not because of Victoria's words, but because part of him feared she might be right. Lily touched his arm gently. Ethan, you did great. At her touch, the tension melted. For a fleeting moment, he simply looked at her and forgot everyone else. Elizabeth Walker appeared, saving them both from the silence. "Darling, the press would love a picture of you two together." Before Lily could protest, flashbulbs exploded. Click, flash, click. Lily blinked against the light, Ethan's arm around her waist, smiling like it was all real. Outside the camera's reach, Victoria and her father exchanged glances. "She's not in our social registry," Charles murmured. "No record of a wedding license either." Victoria smirked. "Exactly what I thought." Hours later, when the gala ended, Ethan and Lily slipped out through a side door. The night air was cool, scented with rain and roses. "Thank you," Ethan said quietly as he opened the car door for her. "For what?" "For saving me from another evening of corporate gossip and blind dates." Lily smiled faintly. "You paid me to." "Not for that part," he said. "For being real." She looked away quickly. "Don't read too much into it, Mr. Walker." He chuckled softly. "Back to Mr. Walker, huh? It's safer." They rode in silence, the kind of silence that feels like words left unsaid. When they stopped in front of Bruno's bistro, Lily turned to him. "Well, this is where we say goodnight. You did amazing tonight. So did you." For a moment, neither moved. Then Ethan reached into his jacket and handed her an envelope. "Half now, half tomorrow. I remember the deal," she said. "Good night, Ethan." He wanted to stop her to ask for more time, but the words never came. She stepped out into the misty air, the green dress glowing under the streetlight. Ethan watched until she disappeared inside. Victoria's plan unfolded the next morning. Tabloids hit the stands. Ethan Walker's secret bride. Mystery woman steals tech billionaire's heart. The headlines were relentless. Photographs from the gala spread everywhere. Ethan's phone rang before sunrise. "Tell me you didn't actually get married," barked Gerald Thornton, his attorney. "I didn't." "Then why is the entire financial press running with it?" Ethan groaned, rubbing his temples. "Because Victoria can't stand losing." "Then you'd better get ahead of it. The board's already asking questions." Across town, Lily froze when she saw her own face on the front page of a newspaper stand. She stood on the sidewalk, coffee tray in hand, heart pounding. "Lily?" Tommy called from the door. She didn't answer. Her name wasn't in the caption, but the photo was unmistakable. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Lily Carter?" "Yes. This is Ethan. Don't panic. But we have a problem." At Callahan Tech headquarters, Ethan met her in his office, overlooking the skyline. She'd never been in a place like this since losing her old job. Glass walls, sleek furniture, quiet power in every detail. "I'm sorry," he began. "This is my fault. I should have protected your privacy." She crossed her arms. "So the world thinks I'm your wife now. Only temporarily. We can issue a statement." "Which says what? That you paid a waitress to be your fake wife?" Ethan winced. "Point taken." She sighed and turned toward the window. "Do you realize what this could do to me? My job, my peace, everything? I'll fix it." "Can you?" Their eyes met challenge against guilt. "I don't know yet," he admitted. Before they could speak again, Jennifer appeared at the door. "Mr. Walker, Miss Rothschild is here. She says it's urgent." Lily stiffened. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Send her in." Victoria entered, her heels echoing like gunshots on marble. "Well, this is cozy," she said, gaze flicking to Lily. "Didn't realize you were holding staff meetings with your wife." "Victoria," Ethan said warningly. "Oh, relax. I'm just here to help. There's a rumor you're being investigated by the SEC over that merger." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Funny that rumor started right after you walked in." Victoria smiled innocently. "Coincidences happen." She turned toward Lily. "Good luck keeping up, sweetheart. The corporate world can eat you alive." Then she left, her perfume lingering like poison. Lily stood in silence. Ethan's voice was low, tight. "She's not just trying to humiliate me. She's trying to destroy everything." Lily looked at him steadily. "Then let's find proof." He frowned. "Proof that she and whoever's leaking the merger files are connected. You said she sold information once before. Maybe she's doing it again." Ethan blinked. "You'd help me?" "You helped me last night," she said softly. "Consider us even." And just like that, a fragile alliance formed, not born of romance, but of trust and a shared desire to fight back. Neither of them realized yet. This was only the beginning. Night fell over Manhattan. Thunder rolled above the skyline, echoing against the glass towers. Inside Ethan's penthouse office, the city lights shimmered across his desk. Lily stood beside him, scanning the documents spread out like pieces of a puzzle. "This is the merger file Victoria mentioned?" she asked quietly. "Yes, it's the deal we've been preparing for 6 months. And you think she leaked it?" "I'm almost certain. But without proof, it's my word against hers." Lily flipped through the pages, eyes sharp and steady. Her mind shifted gears, no longer waitress, but lawyer again. "Who had access to these drafts?" she asked. "Just Victoria, the CFO, and my legal team." She nodded slowly. "Then the leak had to come from someone inside your firm." Ethan leaned against the desk, watching her think. He could see the precision in her movements, the way her gaze traced each line like reading evidence in court. "You've done this before," he murmured. She froze, then looked up, meeting his eyes. "I told you not to ask about my past." "I didn't ask. I just noticed." For a moment, neither spoke. Outside, lightning flashed, a brief burst of white against the windows. "Finally," she said quietly, "I used to be a lawyer. A good one, until someone I trusted destroyed me." Ethan didn't interrupt. She closed the folder, exhaling slowly. "I can help you find whoever's leaking your files, but we do it my way." He nodded. "Deal." The next day, they arrived at Morrison & Associates, the firm where Lily once worked and where the ghosts of her past still lingered. The marble lobby was exactly as she remembered, cold, pristine, and merciless. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Ethan asked. She tightened her grip on her bag. "I have to be." As they stepped into the elevator, the doors reflected their faces side by side, the billionaire and the waitress, the CEO and the woman who'd once fallen from grace. But now they were equals. Inside the 24th floor conference room, Ethan's attorney, Gerald Thornton, was already waiting. "Glad you could make it," he said. "We've traced some unusual file activity from a shared account. Someone inside this firm accessed your merger documents at odd hours." Ethan glanced at Lily. She sat down, her expression composed but tense. "Who's responsible?" Ethan asked. Gerald hesitated. "That's what we're here to find out." Lily leaned forward. "Can we pull the access logs?" Gerald nodded. "Already did." He slid a tablet across the table. Lily scrolled, then stopped. Her heart dropped. The login name was one she knew too well. David Chen, her ex-fiancé, the man who'd ruined her life. Ethan saw her hand tremble slightly. "Lily?" She swallowed hard. "He's here, still working for Morrison." Gerald frowned. "He's one of the senior partners now." "Then he's the leak," Ethan said flatly. "Maybe," Lily replied. "But we need proof that ties him to Victoria." Hours later, under the dim light of Ethan's office, they built a plan. Gerald would contact the FBI quietly to set up a sting operation. Ethan looked at Lily across the table. "You don't have to do this. You've already been through enough." She shook her head. "This isn't just your fight, Ethan. It's mine too. He took everything from me. I'm not running this time." He nodded slowly, admiration flickering in his eyes. "You're incredible, you know that?" She smiled faintly. Don't ruin it with flattery. 2 nights later, Morrison and Associates. After hours, the building was empty except for the security lights and the faint hum of computers. Lily's footsteps echoed softly across the marble floor. Through the glass walls of David Chen's office, she could see him at his desk typing, alone, unaware of what was coming. Ethan and Gerald watched from the conference room, their phones open on a secure line with Agent Linda Torres from the FBI. Do you have visual confirmation? Linda asked. Confirmed, Gerald replied. Subject is in position. Lily entered the office quietly. David looked up, startled. Lily, it's been a while, she said evenly. He smiled the same confident smile that had once charmed her. What are you doing here? Cleaning up unfinished business. She stepped closer, placing a folder on his desk. Inside were dummy merger files, planted evidence designed to expose the leak. David's curiosity won over his caution. He opened the folder, scrolling through the flash drive she handed him. And right on cue, the system pinged. File transfer detected. FBI servers logging everything. Got it, Agent Torres said. We have him. David realized too late. He stood, abruptly. What did you do? Lily met his glare calmly. What you did to me. Years ago. The office door burst open. 2 FBI agents entered, badges raised. David Chen, you are under arrest for corporate fraud and insider trading. Ethan and Gerald appeared behind them. The look on David's face shifted from shock to fury. You set me up. No, Lily said softly. You set yourself up. By morning, the story was everywhere. FBI raids Morrison and Associates corruption ring exposed. Victoria's name was listed among those under investigation. Her father, Charles, resigned from the Callahan Tech board within hours. Ethan watched the news from his office window, the weight finally lifting from his shoulders. Lily entered quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this. He smiled. You read my mind. I used to be good at reading people, she said lightly. You still are. She sat across from him. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan said softly, You saved me. Lily shook her head. We saved each other. He stood, walked around the desk, and took her hand gently. I don't know what comes next, he said, but I know I don't want to face it without you. Lily looked down at their joined hands. Her voice was barely a whisper. Ethan, this was supposed to be temporary. Maybe, he said, but it stopped feeling temporary a long time ago. Her eyes lifted to his, and in that moment the city outside disappeared. No contracts, no scandals, no lies, just 2 people who had found something worth starting over for. He leaned closer, his voice low and trembling. I love you, Lily. She froze, breath-catching, then smiled through tears she didn't realize she'd been holding back. I think, she whispered, I love you too. The morning after the arrests, the world erupted. Headlines blazed across every screen. Ethan, Walker's ex-fiancé implicated in FBI scandal. Inside the corporate betrayal that shook Wall Street. Reporters crowded outside Callahan Tower. Paparazzi staked out Bruno's bistro. Lily could barely step outside without flashes blinding her. Mrs. Romano stood guard at the counter like a lioness, chasing off anyone who tried to bother her. Cara mia, you don't owe them anything, she said firmly, but Lily knew the story wasn't going away. Her phone buzzed again and again, unknown numbers, interview requests, talk shows, tabloids. She silenced them all. At the same time, Ethan faced his own storm. The board demanded answers, investors panicked, and his reputation hung by a thread. Gerald entered his office, holding a thick file. The good news, the FBI's cleared you of any wrongdoing. The bad news, the press doesn't care. Ethan sighed, rubbing his temples. They want a villain. And I'm the easiest one to blame. Gerald hesitated. There's another option, a press conference. Own the narrative before someone else does. Ethan looked up. And drag Lily back into it? She's already in it. Ethan. That night, Ethan drove to Queens. Lily's small apartment building looked even smaller compared to his world of glass and steel. She opened the door before he could knock. "I saw the news," she said softly. "Then you know what they're saying. That you bribed the FBI, bought the case, slept your way out of scandal. The usual nonsense." He managed a weak smile. "Creative, at least. They'll move on eventually," she said. "Maybe, but I don't want to hide anymore." He took a step closer. "Lily, will you stand beside me tomorrow? At the press conference?" Her instinct was to say no, to disappear, start over again, let the storm pass. But she looked into his eyes and saw the same exhaustion, the same defiance she felt inside herself. "Yes," she said, finally, "I'll be there." The next day, the press gathered like vultures. Bright lights, cameras, the hum of microphones. Ethan walked to the podium with Lily at his side. The murmur in the crowd grew louder, 1,000 questions ready to strike. He raised a hand for silence. "3 days ago," he began, "Callahan Tech was the target of an internal betrayal. That betrayal came from people I once trusted and who I once loved." The reporters leaned forward. "I won't hide behind PR statements or lawyers. The truth is simple. We discovered corruption, we cooperated fully with the authorities, and justice is being served." He glanced at Lily. "And as for the woman beside me, she has been dragged through this mess because of me. But she is the reason the truth came out. She's the bravest person I've ever met." The flashes exploded like fireworks. Lily stood still, her chin lifted. Then came the question that changed everything. "Mr. Walker, are you in love with her?" The room fell silent. Ethan looked straight at the reporter, then at Lily. "Yes," he said simply. "I am." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lily froze, her heart pounding loud enough to drown out the noise. Ethan continued, his voice steady. "I didn't plan for it. It wasn't convenient or calculated. But she showed me what integrity looks like when no one's watching. If that costs me everything, so be it." For a moment, even the cameras seemed to hesitate. Then came applause, hesitant at first, then growing louder. When the conference ended, Ethan turned to Lily. "I meant every word." "I know," she whispered. That night, the world changed again. News anchors replayed the moment on every network. Social media flooded with clips titled "The Confession." Public opinion shifted almost overnight. For the first time, people saw Ethan Walker not as the cold billionaire, but as a man willing to risk his empire for honesty. At Bruno's Bistro, customers began leaving notes for Lily, little messages scribbled on napkins. "Proud of you. Thank you for standing tall." Tommy grinned as he taped them to the wall. "Looks like we've got our own celebrity." Lily rolled her eyes, smiling despite herself. "Don't start." Mrs. Romano just winked. "Some stories, cara mia, write themselves." Days later, Ethan invited Lily to his office again. Only this time, there were no reporters, no chaos, just quiet. "I wanted you to see something," he said, leading her to the window. Below them, the company courtyard had been transformed overnight. A new sign unveiled: Callahan Tech Foundation Ethics and Education Initiative. Lily blinked. "You did this?" "We did this," he said softly. "It's your idea. You said once that people deserved second chances. Now we're making it happen. Scholarships, retraining, mentorship." Her eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, this means everything." He smiled gently. "So do you." That evening, they walked together along the East River. The city lights shimmered on the water, soft and golden like the end of a storm. "I used to hate this city," Lily said quietly. "It took everything from me." "And now?" Ethan asked. She smiled faintly. "Now, Maybe it gave something back. He slipped his hand into hers. They walked in silence, no longer pretending, no longer hiding. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time in a long time, they weren't afraid of it. Morning sunlight spilled across the penthouse floor. For the first time in weeks, everything was still. No reporters, no phone calls, just quiet. Ethan leaned against the balcony rail, coffee in hand, watching the city stretch awake beneath him. Behind him, Lily stirred from the couch, blinking sleepily. "Morning," he said softly. "Morning," she replied, rubbing her eyes. Her voice was husky, the kind that made everything else feel distant. They'd spent half the night talking not about work, not about the chaos, but about childhood memories, music, food, laughter. Lily wrapped herself in the blanket and joined him by the window. "Feels strange," she murmured, "like calm before another storm." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe it's just peace." "Peace?" She laughed quietly. "Do we even remember what that feels like?" He looked at her. Really looked. The sunlight caught in her hair, turning the strands into gold. "I do now," he said simply. But peace never lasted long in their world. By afternoon, Ethan's phone rang again, Gerald's number. He answered, instantly sensing tension in his friend's tone. "Ethan, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The board's been contacted by the SEC. Ethan frowned. "About the merger?" "Yes. Someone leaked new documents this morning." Ethan straightened. "That's impossible. The servers are locked down." Gerald hesitated. "There's more. The leak came from your private account." Lily froze when she heard him say it. "That's not possible," she whispered. "I know," Ethan said, pacing the room. "But whoever's doing this, they're framing me now." Gerald's voice was tight. "You need to get ahead of it. The investigation could freeze your shares, and if the board votes no confidence, you could lose Callahan Tech entirely." Ethan ended the call, his mind racing. Then he turned to Lily. "This is Victoria. Or someone working with her," Lily said quickly. Her lawyer instincts flared to life. "She's desperate. If she can't destroy your name, she'll go after your company." Ethan exhaled, jaw clenched. "I'm done reacting. This time, we take the fight to her." Hours later, they sat across from each other at the kitchen table, a war room of coffee cups and open files. "She's still got allies," Lily said. "Her father, Charles, still holds shares and influence. If the SEC freezes your assets, he could move to take control." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Not if we prove she leaked the merger." "And we can," Lily said. "But we'll need access to the firm's internal archives again." "You mean Morrison and Associates?" "Yes." He stared at her. "They won't let you in. Not after what happened." "They will," she said calmly. "If you're with me." "Lily." She cut him off. "You're Ethan Walker, a billionaire client worth millions. They'll open every door." He paused, then smiled slowly. "Remind me never to underestimate you." That night, the plan took shape. They would go to Morrison and Associates under the pretense of consulting on a new corporate case. While Ethan occupied Richard Morrison, Lily would find David Chen's archive, the secret insurance files every corrupt lawyer kept. The next morning, they arrived at the downtown office. The receptionist froze when she saw Lily. "Miss Carter, I didn't realize. I'm here with Mr. Walker," Lily said smoothly. "Appointment with Richard Morrison." The name carried weight like thunder. Within minutes, they were escorted to the top floor. Richard greeted them with the same polished smile, Lily remembered. "Mr. Walker. What a surprise. Though I must admit, I didn't expect to see Miss Carter again." "She's my advisor," Ethan said coldly. "And I'm considering hiring your firm for a sensitive case." Richard's smile widened greedily. "Well then, let's discuss how we can assist you." As he launched into corporate flattery, Lily excused herself politely. "Restroom, down the hall?" "Second door," Richard said dismissively. She slipped out, heart pounding. David Chen's office was 3 doors away. Empty, quiet, just like she remembered. She closed the door softly behind her, her pulse racing in her throat. The desk was immaculate, everything arranged perfectly. She knelt beside the filing cabinet and pulled gently on the lower drawer, the one that always stuck. It opened halfway, revealing neat folders. But she knew his habits too well. She pressed on the back panel and it clicked open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside were dozens of files, client bribes, forged signatures, and at the very bottom 2 folders labeled Mitchell Case and Rothschild, Walker. Her hands shook as she opened them. Emails, bank transfers, proof that Victoria and David had worked together. One note read, "Leak Callahan merger details to discredit him. Ensure Lily Carter stays buried." Lily's breath caught. It was all there. Everything. She raised her phone and began taking photos. But then, a shadow moved in the glass behind her. David's voice came from the doorway, low and calm. "I knew you'd come back, Lily." She froze. "How did you know?" "Security called the moment you signed in. You always were predictable." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "After all these years, still chasing ghosts?" She turned to face him. "I'm chasing justice." He smiled coldly. "You're chasing a fantasy, and now you've just broken into a private office again." She lifted her phone. "Actually, I'm recording you, and everything you just said is enough for obstruction." For the first time, he hesitated. Then the door burst open. Ethan stood there, followed by Richard Morrison and a woman flashing an FBI badge. "David Chen," the agent said clearly. "FBI, you're under arrest for securities fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and falsifying legal documents." David's face drained of color. "You set me up." Ethan's voice was calm, cold. "No, we gave you a chance to tell the truth. You chose this." Lily watched as handcuffs snapped around David's wrists. Years of pain, finally lifting. As the agents led David away, Richard Morrison protested, "This is outrageous. I run a legitimate firm." The agent turned to him. "You run a criminal network, and you're under arrest too." For a long moment, Lily just stood there. Her breath trembled. 3 years of humiliation, of silence, of fear, and now, vindication. Ethan stepped beside her. "It's over," he whispered. She turned to him, tears in her eyes. "Victoria, she'll be next. The FBI's been listening the whole time." He wrapped his arms around her, and for the first time in years, she let herself cry, not from pain, but from relief. Outside, reporters crowded the street again. But this time, their cameras captured something different, not scandal, but justice. Ethan stopped at the microphones, Lily's hand in his. "My name is Ethan Walker," he said, "and I'm in love with this woman, not a fake wife, not a rumor, but someone who taught me what integrity means." He looked at Lily. She lost everything because of people like them. Now she's getting it all back. The crowd went silent, the weight of truth hanging in the air. Later that evening, they sat together on Ethan's terrace, watching the city lights flicker like embers. Lily stared at her hands, the faint marks of the day still visible. "I don't know how to feel," she admitted. "Free," he said softly. "You're finally free." The wind carried the faint hum of traffic below. She smiled weakly. "You know, when you walked into Bruno's that day, I thought you were the most arrogant man I'd ever met." He laughed quietly. "I probably was. And now I'm just a man who knows what matters." She turned to him. "And what's that?" "You." He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Lily Carter, I'm falling in love with you." Her breath hitched. "Ethan," he smiled, "I don't expect you to say it back. I just needed you to know." She looked down, then up again, eyes glistening. "I already did," she whispered. He pulled her into his arms. The world outside could wait. For now, all that existed was the quiet rhythm of two hearts finally beating in sync. The next morning, the city buzzed louder than ever. Every network, every paper, all talking about one thing: the Walker case, the arrests, the betrayal, the love story behind it all. Clips of Ethan's public confession played on endless repeat. Some called him reckless, others called him brave. But for the first time, the public wasn't against him. They were on his side. At Bruno's bistro, customers clapped when Lily walked in. Even the usual morning crowd had changed: businessmen, families, students, all smiling, whispering her name. Tommy grinned from behind the counter. "You're famous now. Don't start," she said, trying to hide her blush. Mrs. Romano placed a cappuccino in front of her. Fame fades, but dignity, cara mia, dignity stays. Lily smiled softly. For once, the noise didn't scare her. It felt deserved. Meanwhile, at Callahan Tower, the boardroom was chaos. Old men in suits argued over numbers, headlines, and stock prices. At the head of the table sat Ethan, calm, silent, but his eyes cold as steel. Charles Rothschild slammed a report onto the table. "Your personal drama has cost this company millions." Ethan didn't flinch. "My personal drama," he said evenly, "also exposed criminal activity that could have destroyed us completely." Another board member muttered, "Be that as it may, Ethan. The investors are nervous. They want reassurance." "Then give it to them," Ethan said. "I'll take full responsibility, but I will not apologize for doing what's right." His tone cut through the room like glass. The chairman hesitated. "Ethan, you're walking a fine line." Ethan stood. "I've built this company from the ground up. If any of you think you can run it better, take it. But you won't do it by tearing down the people who made it honest again." Silence. Even Charles Rothschild had no answer. When the meeting ended, Ethan walked out to find Lily waiting in the lobby. She looked radiant, a navy blouse, simple jeans, but confidence glowing from within. "How'd it go?" she asked. He exhaled. "I may have just threatened to resign." She smiled. "And?" "They didn't call my bluff." Lily chuckled softly. "Maybe because they finally realized what kind of man they're dealing with." He looked at her. "I'm not sure what kind that is anymore." "The good kind," she said simply. That evening, they met Gerald Thornton and Agent Torres at the Federal Building downtown. Torres handed them a sealed folder. "Officially cleared," she said. "All charges dropped, and for what it's worth, you both made quite an impression." Lily laughed nervously. "Does that mean we're done?" Torres smiled. "Legally? Yes, but in the court of public opinion. You might want to brace yourself." Ethan nodded. "We'll handle it." The next few weeks passed in a blur. Interviews, features, invitations. Everyone wanted the couple who'd turned scandal into redemption. They declined most offers. No movie deals, no headlines, just quiet rebuilding. Yet one thing still lingered. The New York State Bar Association had yet to rule on Lily's reinstatement. She pretended not to care. But Ethan could see the way she checked her email every morning, the way her smile dimmed when nothing came. One evening, as the sun bled into the Hudson, Ethan found her sitting on the terrace, laptop open, fingers trembling. He stepped closer. "What is it?" She turned the screen toward him. An email. Subject: Reinstatement Decision. Lily Carter from New York State Bar Association. She swallowed hard, clicked. "Dear Miss Carter, Asterisk, after review of your case and evidence of wrongful termination, asterisk, we are pleased to inform you that your license to practice law has been reinstated." Effective immediately. Lily covered her mouth, her eyes filled with tears. Ethan knelt beside her. "You did it." She shook her head, crying and laughing at the same time. "We did it." He wrapped his arms around her. For a long time, neither spoke. The city glowed below them, and it finally felt like a home again. The following day, a quiet ceremony took place downtown. Lily signed the reinstatement papers in front of a small crowd, judges, attorneys, and friends. When she looked up, Ethan was waiting at the back of the room, a proud, quiet smile on his face. Afterward, he approached, handing her a small envelope tied with a gold ribbon. "What's this?" she asked. "Something you left unfinished." Inside was her old business card updated. Lily Carter, attorney at Law Walker and Associates. She looked up, stunned. "Walker and Associates?" He smiled. "You helped me build integrity into this company. Now it's time we build something new together." She laughed softly, tears in her eyes. "Ethan, are you offering me a job?" "No," he said, taking her hand. "I'm offering you a partnership." That night, they celebrated at Bruno's Bistro. The lights were low, the air filled with warmth and laughter. Mrs. Romano brought out a lasagna dish, the same one Lily used to serve every night, but this time there was writing across it, spelled out in sauce, "Marry him." Lily gasped. Then turned to Ethan, who was already kneeling beside the table, a small velvet box in his hand. He smiled up at her, eyes soft but steady. "I never believed in fate. But then a stubborn, fearless woman threw me out of her restaurant and made me believe in second chances." He opened the box, a simple ring gleaming under the golden light. "Lily Carter," he said, voice shaking slightly. "Will you marry me?" The restaurant went silent. Even the music seemed to pause. Lily's eyes brimmed with tears. She took a slow breath, then nodded, whispering, "Yes." The room erupted in applause. Tommy cheered. Mrs. Romano cried. Ethan stood, pulling her close. Their laughter mixed with the clinking of glasses and applause. And in that tiny Italian restaurant where it had all begun, their story came full circle. Later, as they stepped outside, snow had begun to fall, soft, slow, and endless. Ethan slipped his coat around her shoulders. "Cold?" "A little," she said, smiling. He brushed the snow from her hair. "Get used to it, Mrs. Walker." She laughed through happy tears. "God, that sounds so strange." "Give it time," he said softly. "It'll sound perfect." They stood there, under falling snow and city lights, two souls who had lost everything and found each other instead. 6 months later, the world had moved on, but for Ethan and Lily, life was just beginning again. The headlines had faded, the scandals forgotten, and what remained was peace. A new brass plaque gleamed in the morning sun, Walker and Carter Legal and Ethical Consulting. Inside, the office smelled of new wood and coffee. Stacks of case files lined the shelves, and laughter echoed from the back room. Lily leaned over a desk, signing documents, while Ethan appeared behind her with 2 mugs of coffee. "You've been at it since 7, he teased. "Occupational hazard," she replied. "You sound like a real lawyer again." He smiled. "That's because you are." She looked up at him, a faint sparkle in her eyes. "I never thought I'd get this back." "You didn't just get it back," he said. "You rebuilt it, stronger." Their firm had grown faster than anyone expected. Clients came from everywhere, companies looking for ethical reform, non-profits, small businesses, even government projects. Lily handled the cases. Ethan handled the strategy. Together, they built something honest. And quietly, people started to notice. Articles appeared with titles like "From Scandal to Standard," "The Redemption of Ethan Walker," "Lily Carter, the lawyer who redefined integrity." Neither of them chased fame. They just worked and loved. At home, things were simple. A modest apartment overlooking the East River, a shared kitchen full of laughter and half-burned pancakes. Occasional arguments about paperwork and whose turn it was to cook. But beneath it all was peace, something both had spent years searching for. One Sunday morning, Lily found Ethan standing by the window, reading a letter. "What's that?" she asked. He handed it to her with a small smile. It was from Agent Linda Torres. Asterisk. Thought you'd like to know Victoria Rothschild accepted a plea deal. Cooperation. In exchange for time served. She's barred from corporate practice for life. Lily read silently, then exhaled. It's finally over. Ethan nodded. Yeah, it is. She folded the letter carefully. No more ghosts. No more ghosts, he echoed. He reached for her hand, pulling her close until her head rested on his chest. For a long while, they stood like that, the city alive around them, but the noise fading into something soft and distant. That afternoon, they walked to Bruno's Bistro, the place where everything had begun. Mrs. Romano was wiping down the counter, humming to herself. Ah, the newlyweds, she exclaimed. You two still glowing, I see. Lily laughed. You're imagining things. No, Mrs. Romano said firmly. I recognize happiness when I see it. Tommy appeared from the kitchen, flour on his hands. Guess what? He grinned. I made your lasagna, Lily, the real recipe this time. She smiled warmly. I'm impressed. Ethan chuckled. You've created a monster. They sat at their old table, same corner, same view, only this time no pretense, no secrets. Lily took a bite, closed her eyes and smiled. Tastes like home. Ethan reached across, touching her hand. That's because it is. As the evening light dimmed, they stepped outside again. The street was quiet. Snowflakes drifted lazily through the air, melting against their coats. Lily looked up at the sky. Do you ever think about how it all started? Ethan nodded. Every day. Would you change anything? He paused, then shook his head. Not one thing. She smiled softly. Even the part where I threw you out of the restaurant? Especially that part, he said, laughing. That's when I realized I'd met someone who wasn't afraid of me. She leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. Well, maybe I was. Just a little. Good, he said quietly. Keeps things interesting. They stood there in silence, watching the snow fall, the lights flicker, the city breathe. Inside the restaurant window, the reflection showed them together, her in his coat, his arm around her, two hearts that had been broken, now whole again. A second chance not earned easily, but worth everything. Ethan looked at her, eyes soft, voice barely a whisper. Lily Walker. Yes? Best decision I ever made. She smiled, and in that small, quiet corner of New York, they kissed under snow, under light, under the promise of forever.